The Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape School, commonly known as SERE School, is one of the best and most professional schools I ever attended. Let's take a quick look at SERE School using 7 criteria: duration and phasing, physical training, harassment, sleep, food, and performance measures. Let's start with duration and phases. SERE School is about 3 weeks long, broken into 3 phases: academic training, a survival and evasion field training exercise, and the resistance training lab. All Army Special Forces go to Level C SERE School at Camp McCall, North Carolina. With the exception of one person, everyone in my class was a Green Beret. There are 3 other locations authorized to teach the SERE course Level C. The Air Force conducts training at Fairchild Air Force Base, Washington, and the Navy has facilities in Brunswick, Maine, and in North Island, California. The Army Aviation Center at Fort Rucker, Alabama is currently building their Level C facility. The academic phase is absolutely amazing training. I wish I could go through it again. Here's where you learn how to survive off the land. You learn several ways to determine which direction is north. You learn how to build weapons, how to trap, how to hunt, how to make shelter. During the survival and evasion field training exercise, you put into practice what you learned during the academic phase. Carrying almost no equipment, my team and I stepped off of our helicopter into several inches of snow. We then spent the next few days surviving on the run, hiding from, quote, bad guys who were tracking us on foot, in vehicles, and with dog teams. The final phase is the resistance training lab. This is where you get to practice the U.S. Code of Conduct. The Code of Conduct states, "I am an American fighting in the forces which guard my country and our way of life. I am prepared to give my life in their defense. I will never surrender of my own free will. If in command, I will never surrender the members of my command while they still have the means to resist. If I am captured, I will continue to resist by all means available. I will make every effort to escape and aid others to escape. I will accept neither parole nor special favors from the enemy. If I become a prisoner of war, I will keep faith with my fellow prisoners. I will give no information or take part in any action which might be harmful to my comrades. If I am senior, I will take command. If not, I will obey the lawful orders of those appointed over me and will back them up in every way. When questioned, should I become a prisoner of war, I am required to give name, rank, service number, and date of birth. I will evade answering further questions to the utmost of my ability. I will make no oral or written statement disloyal to my country and its allies or harmful to their cause. I will never forget that I'm an American, fighting for freedom, responsible for my actions, and dedicated to the principles which made my country free. I will trust in my God and in the United States of America." Let's move on to physical training. I don't remember doing physical training at SERE School, but I do remember that most of the training was physically demanding. We did some grueling combatives training and some very difficult and dangerous obstacle courses. Let's move on to harassment. There's almost zero harassment at SERE School. Our instructors were very professional and extremely competent. I will say that I was slightly harassed for being an officer, but this is to be expected and sometimes even deserved. A crusty sergeant major collected up all of the officers late one evening, and he said to us, "Do you men lead by example?" "Of course we do, Sergeant Major." "Good, because tomorrow afternoon you're going to do a very long tunnel crawl for training, and I want to make sure that the officers have already done it and can properly lead the NCOs through the tunnels. Leadership by example, gentlemen." So he took us to the entrance of the tunnel complex, and we crawled single file through the tunnels for about an hour. Crawling through concrete and metal tunnels on your belly or hands and knees is not a morale builder. And of course, it was our pleasure to get to do it again the next day. Let's move on to sleep. During phase 1 of training, you get plenty of sleep. But don't be surprised if you're doing classes and conducting training late into the evening. The amount of sleep you get during the survival and evasion field training exercise is dependent upon your team's established security measures and how good you are at hiding. But let's agree that you don't get very much sleep. And in the resistance training lab, you will get 0 sleep. Moving on to food. During Phase 1, you are well fed. You will generally eat at the dining facilities or have MREs every day. You occasionally eat food that you kill and prepare yourself or as a team. During the survival and evasion field training exercise, the amount of food you eat is based upon how well you paid attention to training during the previous phase. Weather is also a significant factor. For example, we evaded with snow on the ground. This made it much more difficult to scrounge for edible plants. I highly recommend not going to SERE school in the winter. And this takes us to performance measures. I am going to be vague on purpose and simply say that the most significant performance measure of SERE school is that the students learn and act in accordance with the code of conduct. The last day of SERE school is a one-on-one debrief and a very discreet graduation ceremony. We got iced in at Camp McCall, and for safety reasons we were not allowed to bus back to Fort Bragg for graduation. So our guest speaker drove to Camp McCall for our ceremony. He was a Korean War prisoner of war. We were all inspired by what he said and completely humbled. Okay, so there you have it. A brief explanation about how hard is SERE school. I lost 16 pounds at SERE school, and I couldn't feel the bottom of my feet until 60 days after graduation. Despite my weight loss and my cold weather injury, I still consider SERE one of my all-time favorite schools. Not because it was easy, but because I will never forget what I learned. Thanks for watching.
SERE specialists have a lot of gear that we need to carry around, so you need to be physically ready for the job. Their go or no-go event is a 4-mile ruck with 60 to 65 pounds in under an hour. They also have to complete the physical aptitude stamina test. It consists of being able to swim 200 meters, run 1.5 miles, pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups. On top of the physical challenge, we are giving them assignments every single night. We're saying this needs to be done at this time and to this standard to show us that they have the capability to teach and instruct airmen if they graduate this year training pipeline.
After being selected at Lackland Air Force Base, moving up to Fairchild Air Force Base, you begin what's called your prerequisite courses, from water survival to emergency parachuting procedures. Then you are ready to start your SERE apprenticeship course.
This phase, CSS or core survival skills, the point of it is to give them task saturation. If you could imagine an isolated person, they have a lot of goals or tasks to accomplish once they hit the ground running. So our goal is to prepare them, give them lots of mental fatigue and stress, different food than they're used to back on base, and all of those things combined lead to more of a mental barrier than a physical barrier.
Typically, the numbers that we start with varies. Max, we can have up to 42 students, but only the best airmen make it to graduation.
When you make it through training, the ones that make it are the cream of the crop, people you can rely on and trust your life with.
The survivor's mission is to return with honor. The survivor needs to make it back to friendly control and get home. That's the end goal.
A SERE specialist is a survival, evasion, resistance, escape specialist. We train aircrew in how to survive anywhere in the world. We are well versed in many things, from water survival to parachuting to resistance training, so that in case they do go down, they can get home safely. Here at Fairchild Air Force Base, we have an abundance of different courses that we teach. We have a parachuting course, we have an overwater parachuting course, we have a water survival course, we have the underwater egress water survival course that we teach as well.
We take them into different environments and try to work on their core survival skills to include sheltercraft or shelter building, firecraft skills, plant edibility, preparing animals for consumption, how to purify and procure water from different sources, all sorts of things along those lines.
This is a job that you get to jump out of planes, that you get to scuba dive, that you can spend the majority of your time outside. Each day can change, and each day can bring apart a whole new set of problems that it's on you and your small team to actually solve those problems.
We want to make sure that that isolated person is well versed and well rounded in what they might be faced with in any situation that they come to.
minute your feet touch the ground, you look away from the direction of travel. Does that make sense? I love the teaching aspect of SERE. You're ultimately providing the knowledge and tools to an individual who maybe was raised in a city and never been outside that city before joining the armed forces. And you're giving them the tools and the ability to go and survive anywhere in the world should they need to. As a SERE specialist, you will have to train people who outrank you. From my experiences, you're given a lot of respect just out of the gate meeting these people because they know that you've experienced so much.
You do not have to be an outdoorsy kid. You do not have to have been outside all your life. You can come from the city and come in here and we will teach you everything you need to know, from lighting a fire to cutting down a tree, to sharpening your axes, your knives, things like that.
Anyone can learn what we do. That's the whole point of our job, is to teach it to people who don't know how to do it yet.
If you like being outdoors, if you like imparting knowledge onto others, if you enjoy the idea of parachuting, diving, these are all different things that SERE as a career field can offer you.
I believe it's a great career field for families. So if you are a family person, if you have a family already, this isn't a job where you're going to be gone or deployed constantly, so you can establish a pretty good family routine.
As a SERE specialist, you get very unique opportunities to travel the world and provide anything you know, from training to just subject matter expertise with personnel recovery.
We give a flyer, a special operator, the ability to go out and do their jobs with the peace of mind that if anything happens, they are going to be fine and we're going to be able to get them home.